Well, actually, I'd been on the board already. I knew a lot of the challenges that we had. Um, the difficulty was just knowing what we needed to do and what priority, and thinking about also some of the business as usual activities. So obviously we needed to keep going as an organisation, but we needed to start thinking very clearly and very quickly around some of the huge changes we needed to make in the organisation. And I probably hadn't expected that degree of complexity in the culture. I didn't expect my colleagues to be as direct and abrupt with comments to me about what was going on in the college. So often the emails would come in with my name wasn't there, and there was no information about how I get in touch with people. It was just really a very angry comment coming from colleagues. I knew there was a lot of anger out there, but I think I hadn't realised the depth and the extent of that anger. So that told me that actually I need to get out very quickly to across Australia and New Zealand and meet with our fellows and trainees just to try and understand if these were common issues across both countries, or whether these were just things that were particularly difficult in some healthcare organisations, for example. But I think I hadn't quite appreciated a couple of things about the employees of the college either. So we have a lot of skills in the organisation. The depth of skills in education, assessment, curriculum work, it was really, that was very enlightening, and I was so delighted to see all that. And I'm not quite sure all the membership is aware of the skills that we have in the organisation. But then in talking to employees, because of some of the issues that had happened in the past, I think there was a reluctance to talk to me. And obviously we have a very clear reporting structure where we go through the CEO, so I definitely respected that. But I did pick up a sense of, can I trust you? We've all been hurt a little bit in the past. I'm very anxious about each of your words and what you might do. And I immediately thought I needed to get some help to try and ensure that people trusted the leadership team, the board in particular. I am actually quite interested in people. I really love patients, and it's why my ward rounds take so long. I particularly like older people or people that have been around for a long time. And just thinking about, for example, in the health space, my clinical work, how come people feel like this about the disease, or why won't people see a doctor about this, or why will people not take their tablets? So I think I've been sort of interested in a professional capacity about people and their journey. And so I think I've always been interested in the members as well, and particularly our trainees, because a lot of them have got a very interesting life story. They've come from overseas, or they've moved their family around quite a bit, and have all entered medicine for a whole lot of different reasons, but essentially are all pretty much driven by improving healthcare. So I do enjoy that. I do think that leadership it's an interesting concept. Yeah, what is a leader? And I think we do have very interesting role models for leadership, very often dominant, particularly in the political space, people that are out there. The leadership is about them and their team. And I guess I've always felt that I'm one of the people, but probably because of my upbringing, growing up in New Zealand, where you never thought you were really any better than anybody else. And if you thought you were, someone would take you down pretty quickly. So I think a very authentic upbringing in Wellington, state school, big family, older brothers. And I think that kind of keeps you pretty grounded. People often say to me, oh, you've got this qualification and that qualification. How come you're not running for Vice Chancellor, or you're not running for a politician or whatever? And I think that probably sums it all up, that's not the sort of role that I've ever seen myself in. I probably would step up to a leadership role if there was a gap, and by filling it, I felt that I could make a difference and bring the people with me. And that's certainly how I felt about the college, that I mean, it does come with a title, with the president and the chair of the board, but it was actually how can I use those roles to bring my colleagues along with me. One of the big ideas we have, and I think the members do want this, because they've told me so, that actually there's been a concern that sometimes when we elect a president, we elect them because we think they'll be a good president, but not everyone's aware that that person also becomes the chair of the board. And the chair of the board is actually quite a different skill set, it's a different personality style. And they're often skills that you learn to be chair, well, you learn to be chair of the board by being a director on other boards and getting good guidance on that. So there's this whole disconnect, I think, between the president and the board chair, in terms of what their skill sets are, but we're actually putting them all into one person. So the members have suggested that perhaps this is not a good idea, that perhaps we should either have 2 elections, so run one for the president and one for the board chair, or there should be some other way of selecting a board chair, which could either be by the board itself electing a chair, and that happens in some other not-for-profits, or whether we actually go outside to get an independent non-executive director that's very experienced in board work to lead the board, or whether we actually have a call from membership for people that are board experienced. So I think this is some consultation we absolutely need to have. I actually wonder if it's almost a separation on age, because the younger physicians seem to understand governance in a different way than older physicians, and are really keen for a very experienced person to actually lead us so they can get on with doing their other work. But I think for a lot of older physicians, so people in my cohort, there's certainly a sense that doctors control the agenda here, and certainly if you're talking about having a non-doctor as chair of the board, that can be quite anxiety provoking. So I think we definitely need to hear people out on that and their concerns. I mean, there is a possibility in the model that we choose, and we haven't done that yet, of actually having a member as the chair of the board. And as I just mentioned, there's actually quite a few physicians that have got a lot of director experience in New Zealand and Australia. So we could reach out to those people who've already chaired a board, for example, and run an election in that way. The issue of how we actually elect or appoint a chair for the board, I think that's going to be the issue that most of the membership will have a lot of questions on, in terms of, are we setting control, how's that going to work? I am really optimistic, actually. I mean, I don't know if it's all that helpful to look back, and I'm certainly a person who keeps thinking about all the things that we could do, and noting I only have 2 years in the role. But I do feel optimistic. I feel that, I've just come back from Darwin and then in Adelaide, talking to our young fellows, hearing the issues on the ground. People are wanting to get engaged. They want the college to help them to advocate for example, environmental causes, to advocate for workforce. And they now see that the college actually might be able to do this. It's a big organisation with a good reputation, and people are wanting to engage. So I think if members are optimistic, and obviously there's still a lot of work to do, then I think that's a good sign, because it is a membership-based organisation. Yeah.